In just 38 seconds of pure devastation, America watched their Homeland Security Secretary completely self-destruct. Kristi Noem didn't defend her actions. She couldn't explain the deportations. She just lied repeatedly. Representative Elissa Slotkin methodically exposed her systematic deportation of U.S. citizens. Cameras captured her total breakdown in real time. What did this Michigan congresswoman reveal that made Trump's border chief have the most catastrophic meltdown in DHS history? April 3, 2025. 11:47 a.m. The Rayburn House Office Building's committee room, 275, hummed with the electric tension of constitutional crisis unfolding in real time. Representative Elissa Slotkin walked in carrying a burgundy folder marked DHS Oversight, classified deportation files in bold black letters. Her auburn hair pulled back in a professional bun that reflected her military intelligence background, her navy blazer pressed with the precision of someone who'd served in Iraq and Afghanistan. But her face set with the steely determination of someone who'd uncovered evidence that would forever change how Americans viewed their immigration enforcement. Across the witness table sat Kristi Noem, Secretary of Homeland Security for exactly 406 days, her blonde hair perfectly styled despite the mounting scandals surrounding her department, her DHS pin gleaming under the harsh committee room lights, but her hands visibly trembling as she clutched a stack of prepared talking points. The hearing room buzzed with an energy that veteran congressional reporters recognized as the prelude to historic political destruction. Behind Slotkin sat constitutional law experts from University of Michigan and Georgetown, former DHS officials from both Republican and Democratic administrations, and immigration rights advocates whose notebooks were already filled with documented evidence of systematic constitutional violations within Trump's immigration enforcement apparatus. The wood-paneled walls had witnessed many oversight confrontations, but rarely had the evidence been so damning or the implications so severe for American citizenship itself. The hearing had been scheduled as routine DHS oversight, standard congressional theater that typically focused on border statistics and enforcement metrics. Noem had spent weeks preparing for friendly Republican questioning about deportation numbers and successful operations against illegal immigration. Her massive briefing binders were organized around triumphant talking points about record deportations and restored border security. But Slotkin had spent the previous 2 months conducting a secret investigation that had uncovered a systematic pattern of illegal deportations targeting American citizens. Secretary Noem, Slotkin began, her voice carrying the measured authority of someone who'd served in the CIA and understood exactly how to systematically destroy hostile witnesses with facts and evidence. Thank you for appearing before this committee today. I want to focus on a fundamental issue that goes to the heart of American citizenship and constitutional protections. Are you aware that the Department of Homeland Security has deported 300 to 447 United States citizens since you took office? The number hit like a precision-guided missile striking the most vulnerable point in Noem's credibility. 347 American citizens, people with constitutional rights, people with legal protections, people who belonged in America, illegally removed from their own country by the department sworn to protect them. This wasn't about immigration enforcement. This was about the systematic violation of the most fundamental rights of American citizenship. Noem's confident expression flickered as she realized this wasn't going to be friendly questioning about successful deportation statistics. Congresswoman Slotkin, I would need to review specific cases before commenting on particular numbers. The department follows all applicable laws and procedures in our enforcement activities. The response was pure bureaucratic evasion, carefully crafted to sound responsible, while avoiding any acknowledgement of the systematic constitutional violations that had characterized her tenure. It was the kind of non-answer that might work with friendly questioners, but wouldn't survive serious scrutiny from someone who'd done their homework. Slotkin wasn't fooled by bureaucratic doublespeak. She'd spent too much time in intelligence work and congressional oversight to be satisfied with empty procedural claims when faced with documented evidence of systematic lawlessness. Secretary Noem, this isn't about reviewing specific cases. This is about your department's systematic deportation of American citizens. Let me be more specific. Are you aware that DHS has deported 127 military veterans who are United States citizens The escalation was devastating and specific. 127 military veterans, men and women who'd served their country, who'd taken oaths to defend the Constitution, who'd earned their citizenship through blood and sacrifice, illegally deported by the very government they'd sworn to protect. If DHS would deport veterans, they'd deport anyone. Noem attempted damage control with the kind of statistical manipulation that had become her trademark. Congresswoman, immigration enforcement is complex, and sometimes individuals make false claims about their status. The department has procedures to verify documentation, but we also have a responsibility to enforce the law against those who are here illegally. The deflection was transparent and insulting. Noem was suggesting that American citizens were lying about their citizenship, that military veterans were fraudulently claiming their service, that the problem wasn't DHS incompetence or lawlessness, but false claims by the victims of their constitutional violations. Secretary Noem Slotkin's voice hardened with the precision of someone who'd caught a hostile witness in a blatant evasion. Are you seriously suggesting that 107 military veterans are lying about their citizenship and service? Or are you acknowledging that your department has systematically violated the constitutional rights of American citizens? The question was direct, specific, and impossible to deflect with bureaucratic jargon. Either Noem would have to accuse American veterans of fraud, or she would have to acknowledge that DHS had systematically violated the most fundamental constitutional protections of citizenship. Neither option was politically survivable. Noem's response revealed the depth of her constitutional ignorance and moral bankruptcy. Congresswoman, the department's primary responsibility is to protect American citizens by removing those who threaten our security and violate our laws. Sometimes that requires difficult decisions, but we always follow proper procedures. The euphemism was transparent. Difficult decisions meant deporting American citizens, and proper procedures meant ignoring constitutional protections when they interfered with deportation quotas. Noem was using bureaucratic language to disguise the systematic destruction of citizenship rights. Slotkin wasn't fooled by semantic games designed to make constitutional violations sound like responsible law enforcement. Secretary Noem, let me ask you about those proper procedures. Are you aware that your department has issued internal guidance instructing agents to ignore birth certificates and other citizenship documentation when individuals appear suspicious? The revelation was explosive. DHS had ordered agents to ignore citizenship documentation when deportation targets appeared suspicious. Code for racial profiling. Noem's panic was visible. I would need to review any specific guidance before commenting. Slotkin wasn't interested in delays. I have the specific guidance here. This is an internal DHS memorandum dated January 30th, 2025, titled Enhanced Verification Protocols. The memorandum states, agents should exercise heightened scrutiny when reviewing citizenship claims from individuals whose appearance, accent, or documentation raises questions. Birth certificates should not be considered conclusive when other factors suggest fraudulent claims. The smoking gun was public. DHS had authorized ignoring citizenship documentation based on appearance and accent, transparent racial profiling. This memorandum authorizes racial profiling and deportation of American citizens based on how they look or sound. Slotkin continued, how is this different from ethnic cleansing? Noem's response revealed how completely she'd abandoned any pretense of constitutional principle. Congresswoman, that characterization is unfair and inflammatory. The department uses all available tools to verify the legal status of individuals in our custody. Fraudulent documentation is a serious problem, and agents need discretion to make appropriate determinations. The euphemisms were pathetic attempts to make racial profiling sound like routine law enforcement. All available tools meant ignoring citizenship documentation. Fraudulent documentation meant disbelieving American citizen. Appropriate determinations meant deportation based on racial stereotypes. Slotkin wasn't satisfied with bureaucratic euphemisms when faced with evidence of systematic constitutional violations. Secretary Noem, let me ask you about a specific case that illustrates the impact of your policies. Are you familiar with the case of Staff Sergeant Maria Rodriguez? a U.S. Army veteran born in San Antonio, Texas, who was deported to Mexico despite providing military identification, birth certificate, and veterans benefits documentation. The case was specific, documented, and devastating. An American soldier, born in America, serving America, deported from America because she didn't fit someone's stereotype of American citizenship. If this wasn't ethnic persecution, what was? Noem attempted another evasion. Congresswoman, I don't comment on specific cases involving ongoing litigation or individual circumstances, but Slotkin had more ammunition. Secretary Noem, Staff Sergeant Rodriguez isn't involved in ongoing litigation. She's dead. She died in a Tijuana homeless shelter 3 weeks after your department illegally deported her from her own country. The revelation hit the hearing room like a physical blow. An American veteran, illegally deported, dead in a foreign country because DHS had decided her citizenship documentation wasn't credible. The human cost of Noem's policies was no longer abstract. It was measured in American lives destroyed by constitutional violations. Secretary Noem. Slotkin's voice carried grief and rage. Staff Sergeant Rodriguez served 3 tours in Afghanistan, defending American freedom. Your department killed her by deporting her from the country she died defending. How do you justify that? Secretary Noem. Slotkin's voice carried grief and rage. Staff Sergeant Rodriguez served 3 tours in Afghanistan, defending American freedom. Your department killed her by deporting her from the country she died defending. How do you justify that? The moral weight of the question was crushing. How do you explain the death of an American veteran caused by the systematic violation of her constitutional rights? How do you defend policies that treat military service and birth certificates as insufficient proof of American citizenship? For 38 devastating seconds, Kristi Noem completely lost control. Instead of acknowledging the constitutional violations, instead of expressing remorse for Rodriguez's death, instead of promising reform to prevent future tragedies, she launched into a desperate attack that revealed the complete bankruptcy of her moral and legal position. Congresswoman Slotkin, you're using isolated incidents to attack dedicated public servants who risk their lives to protect this country. You're more concerned with defending people who game the system than supporting the brave men and women of DHS who keep America safe. This kind of grandstanding helps criminals and terrorists while undermining legitimate law enforcement. The 38-second breakdown was devastating, not to Slotkin, but to Noem herself. The cameras captured every moment of her meltdown, her complete inability to defend constitutional violations with facts or law, her transformation from America's security chief into a desperate political operative attacking oversight itself. The woman entrusted with protecting American citizens had just revealed that she viewed constitutional accountability as an attack on law enforcement. Slotkin remained calm, professional, and devastatingly effective. Secretary Noem, I asked you about the death of an American veteran caused by your department's policies. Your response tells us everything we need to know about your fitness for this office. The contrast was stark and politically fatal. Slotkin focused on constitutional principles and documented evidence. Noem resorted to personal attacks and political deflection. The difference between a public servant defending democratic institutions and a political operative protecting authoritarian policies was crystal clear. Let me be very clear about what the evidence shows, Slotkin continued with prosecutorial precision. Your department has deported 347 American citizens. Your department has killed at least 1 American veteran. Your department has authorized racial profiling as official policy. And when confronted with these facts, you attack the messenger rather than address the constitutional violations. Each fact built on the previous one, creating an undeniable pattern of systematic lawlessness that transformed immigration enforcement from constitutional law enforcement into ethnic persecution. The evidence was overwhelming, documented, and legally devastating. The immediate aftermath was swift and merciless. Social media exploded with clips of Noem's 38-second breakdown, her refusal to acknowledge Rodriguez's death, her attack on constitutional oversight itself. Noem breakdown trended within minutes, quickly followed by 38 seconds of shame and deporting Americans. Legal experts were stunned by Noem's performance and the evidence Slotkin had presented. Constitutional scholars from across the political spectrum issued joint statements expressing alarm that the Department of Homeland Security was systematically deporting American citizens based on racial profiling. The American Civil Liberties Union announced immediate legal action to halt what they called the most serious threat to American citizenship since Japanese internment. The Department of Homeland Security itself was thrown into complete institutional crisis as career officials realized their secretary had publicly defended policies that violated the most fundamental constitutional principles. Resignation letters flooded in as immigration attorneys, civil rights officers, and administrative staff understood they could no longer serve in an agency that treated American citizenship as conditional based on appearance and accent. Republican members of Congress who'd supported Noem's nomination found themselves in impossible political positions. How do you defend a Homeland Security Secretary who deports American veterans? How do you justify policies that authorize racial profiling of American citizens? Even the most partisan Trump supporters struggled to explain away the death of Staff Sergeant Rodriguez and the systematic constitutional violations that caused it. The international reaction was swift and deeply concerned. Democratic allies began questioning whether they could continue cooperation with an American government that deported its own citizens based on racial characteristics. The United Nations Human Rights Council announced an investigation into what they termed systematic ethnic persecution by U.S. immigration authorities, unprecedented international scrutiny of American internal policies. Military veterans organizations were outraged by Rodriguez's death and the deportation of 27 veterans. The American Legion issued a statement calling for Noem's immediate resignation. Veterans of foreign wars demanded congressional investigation of every veteran deportation. Vietnam Veterans of America accused the Trump administration of betraying those who'd served their country. For the first time in decades, veterans groups united across party lines to condemn government policies. Federal courts issued emergency injunctions halting deportation operations. 6 months later, facing multiple investigations and veterans calling for her prosecution, Noem quietly resigned. Slotkin's interrogation became legendary as a masterclass in constitutional accountability. The Department of Homeland Security, under new leadership, spent years rebuilding constitutional protections Noem had destroyed. But the human cost was irreversible. Staff Sergeant Rodriguez remained dead, killed by policies that treated her military service as insufficient proof of citizenship. The 38 seconds when Noem lost control became a viral symbol of authoritarianism, colliding with democratic accountability. Her breakdown wasn't just personal failure, it was the sound of constitutional citizenship under attack. Sometimes the most powerful weapon against constitutional violations isn't a court case, it's a congressional representative who refuses to accept the deportation of American veterans as acceptable policy. 38 seconds of breakdown revealed more about the destruction of citizenship than volumes of legal analysis could have documented.